Hello and welcome to a new tutorial series for absolute beginners. I will be going through the A to Z of creating one of these agate slice geode coasters. And in this episode I will teach you how to create custom made molds using easy to use materials that won't cost a fortune. This is perfect for absolute beginners as a way of trying out this method before investing more money into resin art, which can be costly. So try these methods out first. You can choose any one of the following methods and create as many molds as you like, but watch the entire series before deciding which method you think would suit you best and then go for it. These are the materials you'll need to start you off. You'll need some 100% silicone. I prefer this in the tube form, but it also comes in a barrel that you attach to a metal pistol and you pipe it out. Make sure that it does say 100% silicone and nothing else. And it comes in either white or transparent, and both will do the job. You will also need some acetate film or transparency film. These come in letter size or A4 in sheet form or in a large roll. This is a thick plastic acetate sheet and this will prevent creasing on the back of the coaster. If you can't get hold of acetate film, an alternative is to use a bin liner or a plastic freezer bag taped down really flat on a level surface, and make sure there are absolutely no creases at all on the back of it. You cannot use the following materials as they will stick to your dried resin. You cannot use waxy kitchen paper. This will just stick to your resin and ruin all your hard work. Cling film, this will wrinkle terribly and also spoil all of your hard work, so preferably one of the other methods. This is wax plasticine. It's called Naki Plast. It's by Pelican, and as you can see it is simply a plasticine, and I will show you how to make a mold using this. Before we get started, just two very important points. Please open a window in your room somewhere. Make sure you've got a lot of air, especially when it comes to using the silicone. It really does smell very, very badly. And you will need a blank sheet of A4 paper and a pen. Any pen will do. I am also going to get something to make the shape with. You can use anything that's round, a cup, or in this case I've got a piece of cork. Take your pen and mark around. Roughly is fine. If you wanted to have a sort of natural agate type form such as this, if you wanted that kind of shape, you could just do this and you could go as rough as you wanted. For the Naki Plast, I am going to push this to the side, so I will need my table. And when it comes to Naki Plast, it's quite sticky on the hands, so put your gloves on from now. You want to make a long tube shape, and the way I do this is by rolling it, as you would if you were using dough or Play-Doh. Make sure it's around the size there. No, a little bit more. That will do. We bring this back. Let's move that out of the way. And you can then start to shape this around. and go all the way around until you get to the end, and you can simply cut it off, reshape it there, and then smooth that edge down there. And you can play around with your shape again and make sure it's to your liking. Once that's done, lift it up, place your paper back on, and place the mould back on. At this point, push down, and you want to start pushing down on the side. All the way around, and then just seal it a little like this. After that, you can just make sure you have a little height to it by squeezing down the sides and pushing it down towards the bottom. And there you go. And there's your first shape. For your second one, using silicone, you're going to need to cut the tip off, and you can leave quite a little bit amount there. And I am going to start to put some pressure on, and you want to keep on the outside of those lines. You don't want to go in, you want to go out. Squeeze down until some comes out, and on the outside you want to go all the way around in a squiggly fashion, pushing down so that it adheres to the actual paper. So I have some washing up liquid, and there's some water in there. I'm going to put a bit in, and then I'm going to take my gloves off for this bit, so your fingers are much better to use. Mix it around. And then dip in, and then just go around the corners like that, and you can shape it up as much as you want. You can also make sure that all the sides are sealed by just slightly pressing down on the edge, just to make sure that the silicone is stuck to the acetate and that the resin will not leak through. Last piece of advice is to take some sort of a cloth and just go around with a little bit of water, some of that water. Place it around your finger, and then just go along the edge and clean. And there you go. Do leave this for a whole day or a couple of hours to dry. So I had a third method, but as you can see at the end of this clip, it didn't quite go to plan. I used hot glue to create the mould, and I had to use at least 4 sticks, and when it dried I came back to it to clean up any stray bits, and it just peeled off the acetate. So for me this is a no, but perhaps it would work better on the bin liner or maybe the freezer bag, but I prefer my previous method, so I'm sticking to those. But feel free to comment below if you've tried hot glue and if it worked for you. So to test for leaks, fill a glass with water and colour it with a little food colouring. Pour it inside the moulds and wait for about a minute or so. If after this time you don't see any coloured water outside of the moulds, you know it's sealed properly and no resin will leak out. You do have to make sure though that you clean up, removing all traces of water as best as you can, or leave it for a few hours or overnight to dry out completely. The silicone mould is reusable for at least 10 more castings, and the modelling dough is temporary, and each method has its uses. For example, if you wanted to create a one-off piece and not waste any silicone or acetate, use the modelling dough. And when you want to replicate your coaster many times, use the silicone method. As you can see, I am pulling hard and this is properly fused down into the acetate, making it perfect to reuse over and over again. So once you've got this step over with, join me on part 2 of this series for the A to Z of resin casting, how to mix your resin, what pigments and pastes to use, and then the best bit, pouring and creating your first agate slice coaster. See you soon. Bye.